Okay, where are we now? Now we're on to approval of the 2026 consolidated operating and capital budget. Um, We'll now move on to item 7.2.1, approval of the 2026 operating and capital budget.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. Through Your Worship, I'm pleased to be able to present the results of all of our budget deliberations and discuss about the budget approval for the 2026 operating and capital budget. So as you're aware, per the Municipal Government Act, municipalities must pass an annual operating budget by January 1st or an interim budget of that year. Plus a capital budget or capital improvement plan. And as part of those requirements, a 3-year operating plan and a 5-year capital plan must be presented, and they are done so within this document. So council had 5 deliberation meetings to discuss the operating and capital budgets. During that time, they deliberated on the base budget, capital budget, service level initiatives, and utility budgets to end their deliberations and be able to set or finalize the upcoming required tax revenues and tax rate for and spending for the year. So overall, the proposed budget contains operating expenditure increases of about 1.2%. So pretty minor amount when you look at our operating costs and operating amounts within the budget. However, when you look at all expenses, which would include our non-operating, so that's capital, so transfers to reserves, debt charges, which again were significant this year. We had to incorporate the $5 million debenture into this year's budget. And capital infrastructure funding, the total expenses were 4% over year. Based on the results of council's decision, required municipal tax revenues will need to increase by 2.93%. So I want to be careful how I say this. So when I say revenues, that's all of our tax revenues, about 342,000 or 2.93%. I like to say that on average, that's what a municipal tax bill will go up in the town. However, that's looking at a consolidated number. For different classifications, the amounts might be different. Individual properties, the amounts will be different. It really ends up depending on how much an individual assessment changes compared to the average assessment for that classification. So I'm comfortable saying that we need to generate about 2.93% more revenues, which on average does a 2.9.3 tax bill increase, but there's a lot of things that are subject to make that change individually. However, you know, when we look at that compared to our 2025 tax bill, it is an annual increase of about $69. Looking at a residential property at our median value of 281,000 or $579 per month. So, you know, in terms of an actual dollar increase, I'm not going to say it's not insignificant. They all are, but you know, it's generally constrained to whatever our municipal inflation rate is, which again, we talk about inflation rates. We can't really look at consumer price increases. We need to look at our costs. Within the approved budget, there's some service level changes and new initiatives that were approved by council. Some of the highlighted items here, additional $35,200, which are either reapproved or new approvals for grants for watershed, community health, public safety programs. Funds for an economic development strategy, which is a grant funded project. So the net cost would be approximately $40,000. This one's significant, so additional capital funding of $305,000. So that's a result of the deliberations where council identified infrastructure replacements as a priority and are making the funds available to do so. Changes to operations at the Aquaplex, which would involve the closure of the indoor pool during the summer months, with a cost savings there anticipated at 30,000, could be different. We'll see what that is. Health and safety initiatives, $50,000. That's a review of the program. Pest and weed control measures, 25,000. So those are some of the bigger highlighted items. Something else the council directed was a reduction of the minimum tax rate from $500 down to $240. That'll be addressed when we do the tax rate bylaw. But that was a council direction and we incorporated that into the budget plus all the other necessary changes. So in terms of some of the adjacent type funds, so we do have utility funds within the operating budget, which were also approved. I'll talk about the waste and recycling fees. That's a 5.78% increase year to year. And that'll be formalized when we do the utility rate bylaw, which has those rates in it. Water and wastewater funds had larger increases. Again, water was 8.2% of a revenue requirement. So again, kind of that tax bill or utility bill concept will increase by about that amount, and 10.3% for wastewater. Again, those were budget corrections on the water side. We had some chemical costs that were budgeted quite low, debt costs, and again, council's commitment to doing additional capital work, which ended up being part of that rate increase for the water side. Sewer side, there was a revenue adjustment that we had to do. The revenues are budgeted high last year. Those had to be corrected. Plus again, capital works and funding that were approved by council during deliberations. In light of that, there's some information that shows comparables for water and wastewater billing. That's included within the report. Looking at the water side, even with our increase, which has been factored in based on the upcoming utility rate, I've included comparables, 7 population comparables, so similar size. Our water bill is about $7 less on average than our comparables, and that's with our new rate and their older rates. So their rates are going to come up. Those haven't been enough haven't been approved. So I just showed everyone's prior year rates. So again, we're in line with utility rates, especially water. There's similar information for wastewater rates. On average, we're a little bit higher than the average, so about $3.29 higher than average. But again, really in line with what those rates will be. Those are the operating budget highlights. I'll talk about capital next and then get to the motions. Are there any questions at this point? I'm not going to go over the whole report. It's all there. But I did want to pick out some highlights for council and the public. No. Okay. Seeing none, the capital budget, council approved the capital 2026 capital budget of 51 projects, totaling $8,018,000. Of that, about 3/4 is funded through town controlled funds. So again, when I say town controlled funds, that's our reserves, but it's also grants that we control, such as the local government fiscal framework, provincial funding, or the Canada Community Building Fund, which is the old gas tax fund. So there is other levels of government funding in there, but we control those. It's a uncommitted amount. We don't have to, we get that money as a right. So that's considered our funding. And then a quarter from other external sources, which would be provincial and some federal grant funding, which is conditional on specific projects. As presented, the 2026 capital budget does not incur any additional debt that wasn't needed or wasn't modeled into this year's, but we should expect to see some utilization of debt in future years' budgets as we tackle our infrastructure deficit, and we'll manage that in a rational way to include debt as a funding source. So the capital program is shown within appendix. I don't want to say the right one. I'm just flipping here. So appendix B has capital information. And again, that includes information on our long-term debt, projected debt, our debt capacity. Plus it does show our 5-year capital program, which I will remind council. The first year, 2026, is funded. We've identified the funding for that. The future years, so years 2 to 5, are unfunded. So we're showing the capital projects that we anticipate will need to be done, and we'll have that discussion as we go into further approvals. But we also understand that the items listed probably won't be able to fit within our funding envelope or bucket, and will have to be pared back, and that'll be a conversation with council. But we did feel it was important to show from staff's perspective, what infrastructure replacements and repairs need to be done within the community. Is there any questions on the capital program or capital budget?
Okay, we'll have our motion for, can I get a counselor to make motion?
Yeah, I move that council approves the town of Drumheller 2026 operating budget with a total expenditure of $32,493,243, resulting in a tax levy of $12,136,732 as presented. Goes pretty quick when you say it fast, right?
All right.
Point of information, I'm sorry, through the chair, Councillor Zarisky. The motion did have 2026 consolidated operating budget. Is it okay if I include that in the motion? It was a revised proposed motion.
I move that council approves the town of Drumheller 2026 consolidated operating budget with a total expenditure of $32,493,243, resulting in a tax levy of $12,136,732 as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Zutsky. A little slower having to do it twice. See? All right, can I have a seconder? Councillor Hanson, all in favor? Oh, question, there we go, sorry, questions. Councillor Kalapa.
I just want to commend administration and this council on all the hard work. For me, it was probably the most thorough in recent history that I recall. And I got to say, well, we're not all going to be happy with every line item. It's great that we had those discussions and came to consensus on so many things that we can move forward. And I just want to confirm with the operating budget, we are able to come in at this level without relying on balancing funds or reserve funds.
Yes, that's correct. Through the mayor, we did remove a significant transfer from reserves that were used to offset expenditures in the past. So there was reserves for funding of positions. Again, they were appropriate for those funds, but those were removed. So there's less inter-fund transfers happening to support or lift the operating budget, which will again it just stabilizes the funds, allows more funds available for capital projects in the upcoming and future years. and just makes the funds a little bit healthier, as an independent, funding entity.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Councillor Zerski?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I'd like to echo Councillor Kalafa's comments. I hope people appreciate the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours that council put into this, that it is not taken lightly, that it was analyzed in depth. And I'd like to definitely thank all of the managers for all the business units who sharpened their pencils and tried to get, just the most dire things that we needed to do done. And I'm very pleased to see that we are able to maintain our current level of services. That we do an awful lot in the town around that people kind of take for granted, which costs a lot of money, and we're still able to maintain all of those services. So thank you for everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Zerski. Councillor McNeil?
Yes, I too also echo the thanks to administration for guiding us and being a Sherpa through this process. I think it went very well. And yes, we did spend hours, but certainly we all learned a lot, especially the newbies on council. So really appreciate that. And I just wanted to mention that I really found it very useful to have the comparisons with the other communities with a similar population when we were looking at the water and the sewer rates in particular. That was just so helpful to have. And yeah, I just hope that we can then keep an eye on that through 2026 to see what happens in those other communities as we continue to compare. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Anybody else? No, it was a great team building thing here between council and admin and helped us to understand everything because we did give them the rake. So, all right, all in favor? Okay. Okay, so then where are we at? 10 minutes left here. This one.
Yep.
Okay, so then all right, so now proposed motion that council approves the town of Drumheller 2026 capital budget with a total of expenditure of 8,018,000. Oh, that's anyways, 8,018,000 as presented. Could I have a motion for that? Councillor Miller.
I move that council approves the town of Drumheller 2026 capital budget with a total expenditure of $8,018,000 as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Hanson. Thank you. Any questions or comments at that time? Oh, Councillor Zerski.
So the capital budget addresses things that we need, equipment, projects that have to be done. And this is $8 million. It sounds like an awful lot of money, but the reality is there are so many old infrastructure things in the town. And at our recent Alberta Municipalities Conference, we talked to many municipalities and they refer to it as the infrastructure deficit. That every municipality has lots and lots of roads that needs paved, lots of pipes and sewer lines and water lines that need redoing, lots and lot of water treatment plant processes and equipment that need, and we can't come close to doing all of that. As I say, $8 million looks like a lot, but there's an awful lot that I hope people realize that we are putting off. And the longer we put these things off, the more they deteriorate and the more expensive they get to fix. And so at some point, I am hoping that council will, and this is part of the planning that we are doing, is looking at all of this infrastructure that we have that is deteriorating, and coming up with a plan how we can address some of this, because it is just getting worse and worse and older and more expensive. And so I think at some time we have to maybe look at what we can do to stop that slide.
Thank you, Councillor Zaritsky. Anyone else have any comments? No other comments? So all in favor? Okay, carried. All right, our 2026 utility rate bylaw. We will now move on to 7.2.2 2026 utility rate bylaw. Okay.
Again, through the mayor, so as a result of our budget deliberations, we now have enough information to bring back the utility rate bylaw for the upcoming 2026 utility rates, which will be water, wastewater, and garbage and recycling rates. So again, similar, I just discussed the challenges that they're facing within those individual funds. They are self-funded. I'll just remind council that they are not subsidized by taxes or any other means. They are entirely rate driven. So the rates that we collect through the utility bills pays off these funds, this operating fund this year, plus the capital program that they support. Because of that, in the increased costs, we do need to see significantly larger rate increases to manage the increases in the operating budget. So as I mentioned, chemical costs year to year, they're up over $120,000. I did some additional work on this over a 4-year period. They've increased 129%. Whole bunch of reasons for that. There's COVID was sort of the start of it, but costs for chemicals, delivery costs, unit costs. I'm going to assume tariffs are now part of this. It's just incredible what chemical cost increases have been over the last half decade. Debt charges and capital contributions for water projects. Again, that's an additional $160 or $160,000 year to year. Just repair and maintenance of the water system. So not just the plant, but the pipes and the pump stations. So would you year to year $66,000 increase? Well, needed, not very much. And again, we're trying to manage best as we can. Sewer, again, similar type idea. Debt charges and capital contributions up more than $122,000 year to year. And that fund doesn't generate as much revenue as water does. So the margins are tighter there. So a smaller number still equates to a fairly large increase, unfortunately. And then again for garbage and recycling increases. That's an increase to our contribution to the Solid Waste Authority. That's affecting that a little bit from our contracted garbage pickup provider, but that's a minor amount in comparison. In the Solid Waste Authority, that was a budget miss in 2025. That's why the number is a bit higher than it would be. It should only be about 15,000, but it was not incorporated in the 2025 budget, so we're doing that now. Overall, the impact of this are water revenue or water rate increases of 8.2%, wastewater revenue or rate increases of 10.3%, and waste management, so garbage and recycling of 5.78%. The changes are shown in Appendix A of the budget or the RFD, I mean. So 2025 versus 2026, the change in percentages. Again, for our flat rate or our base rate, it's about a 7.1, 7.2% increase. This is on page 60 of the agenda. And then for the consumption charges, it's an 8.2% increase, mirroring the amounts that they needed to go up as per the budget deliberations. On the wastewater side, it's pretty well a flat 10 or 10.2% rate increase needed to balance that budget. And on the garbage and recycling, it's 5.7% to recycling and 5.8% to garbage rates per month. All other rates are remaining the same within the bylaws, so amounts for penalties, paper billing are remaining the same. Again, talked about comparables in the last RFD. We are in line with what our other municipal comparables are doing. I know that's not great comfort when you have a large increase like this, but you know, when we do show this, you know, it's the rates, the amounts we're charging are pretty reasonable when you consider similar size municipalities.
Is that it there? Thank you, Mr. Towns. Questions, Councillor Zawicki?
You want a motion?
Oh, make a motion for that. Thank you to accept. Yep.
I move the council gives first reading to 2026 utility rate bylaw number 41.25 as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Zawicki. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Any questions for council? Councillor Kalapa?
Yeah, I just, a quick comment that yet this is, you know, a fairly significant change, which none of us would like to see, but it also, you know, it is the safety of our water supply and making sure that we can deliver that very basic service. I'm glad that it is within sort of parameters of comparables. But yeah, nonetheless, it is, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Okay. Second, second. Oh, you got a question? Okay. Councillor McNeil, yep.
Thank you. I just had a question, just from the information package, and it was referring to group 1, which includes connections with meters 1 inch and under, and group 2 includes connections with meters from 1.25 inch to 2. So I'm wondering, what is the most common, like what most households would have?
The most common rate is either a 5/8 or 3/4 inch connection. That's what the vast majority of domestic, so residential properties will, that's the meter size. Yep.
Thanks.
I will also say, while I have my mic on, I didn't talk about this. The regional customers that we also sell water to, they're not part of this bylaw. But I will just remind council and the public that they're also incurring the same 8.2% rate increase that town residents are. So again, there's, you know, the costs that are being charged to them are similar to those borne by our residents.
Thank you, Mr. Town, for that. Councillor Kalapa, or sorry, Zawicki.
Yeah, further to Councillor Kalafa, I guess the way I look at it is simply this is what it costs. So this is what it costs.
Okay. Any other any other questions or comments? So there's none. May I have a motion for a second reading? Or all in favor now? Okay, sorry. Okay, all good. Okay, can we take we'll take a couple of minutes here for before our public meeting, our public hearing on, yes, back here to 6.1 for the Nackmine East, land designation bylaw. Take 5.
674 of the Municipal Government Act, the town is required to hold a public hearing prior to the removal of the municipal reserve designation. Our public hearing today was advertised in the Drumheller Mail on November 26th and December 2nd, as well as on our website, and by placing signage adjacent to the subject lot. Any person who claims to be affected by the proposed bylaw was invited to present their comments in person at the public hearing or to submit written submissions by the established deadline. In order to comply with the provincial and federal funding agreements with regards to our flood mitigation projects, land acquired for the flood mitigation project must be dedicated as either environmental reserve, public utility lot, or another designation satisfactory to the province. Construction of the Knack Mine berm began in spring of 25 and was completed in the fall of 2025. Wherever possible, land acquired for the use of berms is converted into a PUL as the berms are considered municipal infrastructure. Currently, a section of the land on the east end of the berm is described as Block R1, Plan 7510071, is designated as a municipal reserve. A municipal reserve is land that is set aside by the municipality for use as public parks, playgrounds, or other types of recreational areas. In order to designate the parcel as a PUL, the MR designation must first be removed. In accordance with the requirements of 674 of the Municipal Government Act, the town is required to hold a public hearing prior to the removal of this designation. Bylaw today of number 40.25 intends to remove the status of MR so that a future bylaw can be brought to council to designate the land as a PUL. Again, a PUL is a titled parcel of land which is owned by the town and contains a public utility or municipal infrastructure. An environmental reserve, on the other hand, is a designation for land that is unsuitable for development or environmentally sensitive and usually contains land subject to flooding or containing riparian lands. The financial impact of this bylaw is that the costs associated with holding a public hearing are usual costs to us and are included in our operating budget. This bylaw is in compliance with our provincial and federal funding agreements that are currently in place for the flood mitigation project. And as mentioned, the public hearing was advertised publicly in the Drumheller Mail, as well as on our website, and was posted on signage was also posted adjacent to the subject lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cabell. Sorry. Okay, now our rules of conduct for this, those in, correct? Okay, so those in support of the matter will be permitted to speak first, followed by those in opposition. Following this, the CAO will be permitted to respond to any comments, and council will be given the opportunity to ask clarifying questions. Each presenter will have 5 minutes to speak, and each group or organization will have 10 minutes to speak. Each presenter shall have their name, shall state their name, whether they are in support or in opposition, whether they are a resident of Drumheller, or how they are affected by the matter. Each presenter shall address their presentation to the mayor and shall only address the council with the permission of the mayor. We request that you only present material associated with the subject of the public hearing. All presentations will form part of the meeting minutes and will become part of the public record. Council may not debate the matter and may only ask questions for clarification. Council will have the opportunity to ask questions once the presenters are finished. And we ask that you respect the views of anyone here and allow each person their time to speak. We will now open the floor to the public. Are there any written submissions in support of bylaw 40.25?
Your worship, we did not receive any written submissions in support of bylaw 40.25.
Thank you. For the first time, has anyone registered to present in person or remotely in support of the bylaw?
Your worship, no one has registered to present in person or remotely in support of this bylaw.
Thank you. And for the second time, is there anyone present who would like to speak in support of the bylaw?
No one has stepped forward to speak in support.
Thank you again. And for the third time, is there anyone present who would like to speak in support of the bylaw?
No one has stepped forward to speak in support.
Thank you, Mrs. Keibel. Are there any written submissions in objection to bylaw 40.25?
Your worship, we have not received any written submissions in objection to bylaw number 40.25.
Thank you, Mrs. Keibel. For the first time, has anyone registered to present in person or remotely in objection to the bylaw?
No one has registered to present in person or remotely in objection to this bylaw.
Thank you again. And for the second time, is there anyone who would like to speak in objection to the bylaw?
Thank you, Your worship. No one has stepped forward.
Thank you. And for the third time, is there anyone who would like to speak in objection to the bylaw?
No one has stepped forward, Your worship.
Okay, so if there are no written submissions or presentations, the public meeting will close. And then it's, may I have a motion to close the public meeting? Councillor Hardy?
I'll move that the public hearing for a proposed Nakamine East removal of land designation bylaw 40.25 be closed at 5:42 p.m.
Thank you, Councillor Hardy. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Zursky? All in favor? Okay. All right, so now we are on to our FCSS committee appointments. Pardon? What?
Just, at a point, we had completed first reading of utility rate bylaw 41.25, and I think we were hoping to do 3 readings today.
Thank you. My apologies. I'm too fast. Yes, we would like to request all 3 readings today, just to get them all in before year end. Thank you.
So
Okay,
I'll make that motion if you want.
can I get a motion, please? Councillor Kalapa?
I move that council give second reading to 2026 utility rate bylaw 41.25 as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Kalapa. All in favor, all seconder? Okay, Councillor McNeil, thank you. All right, all in favor now? All right, thank you. Okay, hang on. All right, sorry, I got skipped there. All right, okay, so then I guess. Counselor Miller, go ahead.
I move that council gives unanimous consent for third and final reading of 2026 utility rate bylaw number 41.25.
You'll second it, okay?
I will second that.
Counselor Kalafa. All right, all in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, so now I need a motion that we'll do our third and final reading of the 2026 utility rate by law. Counselor Miller, thank you.
I move that council gives third and final reading to the 2026 utility rate bylaw number 41.25 as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Counselor Zaritsky. All in favor? Oh, all in favor. Thank you. Okay, so now we're on to move on to item 7.3.1, the FCSS committee appointments.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in accordance with the consolidated FCSS committee bylaw number 34.24, council is responsible for appointing members to the Family and Community Support Services or FCSS committee. The committee serves as an advisory body to council and provides input and recommendations regarding the planning, delivery, and evaluation of preventative social programs and services under the FCSS Act and regulation under the province. Appointments are required to ensure the committee maintains full membership and continues to represent a diverse range of community perspectives. Administration has reviewed applications received and is presenting recommendations for council's consideration and approval. Administration is recommending that council appoints between 2 to 3 applicants to the FCSS committee members at large, each for a 3-year term beginning December 16th, 2025 and ending December 16th, 2028. So our FCSS committee is an important advisory body to council. It provides, like I said, insight into the planning and delivery of our preventative social programs in the community. We would like to see members who are actively engaged in social services to strengthen the committee's capacity to provide informed and relevant and practical recommendations. As outlined in bylaw 23.25, which is incorporated into our consolidated bylaw in Appendix A. The FCSS committee shall consist of not more than 3 members at large who represent social services agencies, along with 4 members of our council, including the mayor. As of the application deadline of November 15th, the following completed applications were received. We had 7 applications submitted, and the people are listed on the RFT. So as far as the financial impact of this report and these appointments, there is no financial impact to the town. The FCSS committee is a volunteer-based body, and members are not compensated for their participation. This committee and the structure in relation to our strategic policy alignment, it does support the town's commitment to community engagement and social well-being by ensuring that diverse community voices inform the planning and delivery of our FCSS programs. Through this advisory role, the committee strengthens collaboration between the town and local stakeholders, and it fosters responsive, inclusive, and preventative social services. Upon confirmation of the appointments, the FCSS committee members will receive written notification regarding their appointments, stating that administration We'll contact them with details about the next steps for upcoming meetings. So at this time, because this does deal with confidential evaluations and personal information, administration is recommending that council goes into closed session to deliberate and review the applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kiambo. We'll now close the meeting to the public to discuss these appointments. We have a motion to go into closed session, please. Councillor McNeil.
Hello, I just had one question. I just wanted to ask, will the applicants that aren't successful with this appointment, will they also receive a notification?
Through the chair, yes, absolutely.
Councillor Clappin.
I'll move the council close the meeting at 5:49 PM to discuss the appointment of members at large to the FCSS committee as per AITA 22 confidential evaluations.
Thank you, Councillor Kalapa. Can I get a seconder? Councillor McNeil. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Okay, we're back on the air here and the time is, what is that? 6:55. Okay, and can I get a motion to amend our bylaw then? Thank you, Patrick.
As a motion coming
Councillor
out,
Kalapa.
I'll make a motion to amend bylaw 34.24, section 5.1 to allow for members at large who represent town social services agencies and or have relevant local social service expertise or experience.
Thank you, Councillor Kalapa. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Hardy, all in favor? Okay. All right, now, can I get a motion to table our that to, yeah. Thank you. Councillor McNeil, yeah.
I make a motion that council tables the appointment of the FCSS committee members to the January 20th, 2026 regular meeting of council.
Thank you, Councillor McNeil. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Miller, all in favor? Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn? No? No? Where? Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So now. There we are. Okay, so now we'll move on to item number 8.1, correspondence from the East Cooley School Museum.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in accordance with our council procedural bylaw, administration does bring forward all requests, formal, written, or electronic, that are addressed to council or a council member that are asking for a request for a financial decision or contains other matters of significant importance in the opinion of the CAO and the mayor. So our request here today is from the East Cooley School Museum, who are hosting their 7th annual Highland Gala on January 24th, 2026. This event celebrates Robbie Burns Day and raises funds for restoration work required for their building. They're requesting a donation for use in a silent auction, the purchase of tickets for their event, or cash donations. Tickets purchased prior to December 25th receive a 10% discount per pair of tickets. Individual tickets are $95 each. In alignment with the direction provided for similar requests and the town's Community Assistance Grant Program, administration has encouraged the East Cooley School Museum to apply for a silent auction donation through the in-kind support available through that grant program, as the financial portion of that budget is maximized for 2025. The financial impact of that decision is just the value of the in-kind donation, which will be accounted to through that annual maximum budget of value of $30,000. Currently, our available balance is $11,500. If council chooses to also purchase tickets for the event through the town specifically, cost would be expensed to the council registration budget. If tickets are purchased, the costs are as follows. For a set of 2 prior to December 25th, $171. For a set of 2 after December 25th is $190. Or for a table of 10 prior to December 25th, cost is $855. Or after December 25th, the table of 10 would be $950. In alignment with our strategic policy, the town does support nonprofit community organizations and social services groups when possible through our in-kind support, either through our Community Assistance Grant Program or our FCSS Grant Program. While council directly funds certain organizations such as STARS and Colton's Place, previous council recognized the limited funding available to support direct requests. Administration's recommendation, unless council does choose to purchase tickets, is that council accepts the presented council correspondence from the East Cooley School Museum as information.
Thank you, Mrs. Kiamba. So can I have a motion, please? Councilor Zarisky.
I move the council accepts the presented council correspondence from the East Cooley School Museum as information.
Can I have a seconder? Councilor Miller. Any questions or comments for me? None? Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried. All right. So this brings us to the end of our our agenda for today for 2025. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Councilor Hardy.
I move that council adjourns the meeting at 7:01 PM.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great holiday season and best wishes. Oh, seconder, sorry. Sorry, I'm ready. I'm already out of here. Okay. Counselor Kalafa, all in favor? Okay. All right. Now have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and a happy holiday and Happy New Year. All right. See ya.